So most people just watch communication videos, take notes, read books, but they're not actually getting better when they're actually talking to people. Now, why is that the case? The thing is, it's not a knowledge problem, it's a rep problem. They're not doing enough reps. You can't think your way into becoming a better conversationalist. You actually need to talk your way into becoming a better conversationalist. Now, if you're like me, you're going to have a few struggles in this area. I've worked as a coder and developer. I'm introverted, and after university had finished, I had largely remained disconnected with my old friends. They would go overseas, they would move interstate, and we just didn't make the concerted effort to remain connected. So what I was left with was work conversations. Now, normally they would be short and always remain professional. In terms of my social life, well, I don't club, I don't go to a sports club, I don't drink, and I don't remain connected with a tight-knit group of friends that hang out on a regular basis. So that pretty much leaves me with pretty much zero social exposure. Sound familiar? Now, communication is much more similar to like a physical skill rather than something intellectual. In order to get better at a physical skill, you need to constantly do it more. If you want to get better at tennis, you definitely need to play tennis more. If you want to get bigger in the gym, you need to do more reps or do heavier weights and regularly go to the gym as well. You can't become like a huge bodybuilder if you don't go to the gym. You have to go to the gym. It's not like you can watch videos and get huge by doing that. So much in the same vein, if you don't expose yourself to communicating in a social manner, you're not going to get better at being more social. You're not going to practice how to be witty. You're not going to practice how to crack jokes at the right time. You're not going to practice how to display yourself using body language to communicate the thing you want to communicate. Or you're not going to notice the cues on someone's face when they're really lighting up in a conversation or otherwise being really bored with the conversation. You don't know what is more so socially appropriate things to say or socially not appropriate things to say, right? Because you didn't have that exposure. The more you're exposed to it, the more mistakes you make. The more mistakes you make, the more you learn. So you need to get the repetitions in. The people in our demographic who are developers and not consultants would largely just stay in the development world. We work with a very small knit team that's very much similar to like our kind of demeanor, who would just be not very socially confident. They pretty much just go through the same routines in their day. Work, go home, eat, game, sleep, that kind of thing. So our demographic is severely under-repped in our social abilities. And that's what we do by default. And the default is reactive. We only converse when people approach us. And that's not just limited to us, actually. That's probably most people. They're more so reactive conversationalists. And by that, I mean, we only when someone comes up to us to talk, do we talk. And in that case, we have to, otherwise that would be perceived as rude. So we constantly wait for someone to approach us before we actually do the reps. It's kind of like someone handing over weights so that we can start doing curls. You're gonna get a lot less curls than you otherwise would if that's the only times you talk. Now, this can work if you're already in a heavily social setting. Being reactive exposes you a lot anyway, and many people always come to you to have chats or to hang out or to engage in a hobby. But most of us are not getting enough exposure from just being reactive. And most of us in the professional world, I imagine, actually have very few friends. And so we get very little exposure. Now, juxtapose that with a more proactive approach. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel like you're going to come across as needy, but this works. When I started realizing how little reps I was getting when I was trying to improve my social ability, I then started to reach out to people that I wouldn't normally reach out to. There were old friends, there were work colleagues that I wanted to be friends with, or girls I was interested in. And it was just to hang out. First time I did this, it felt awkward, it felt weird. It felt like I had to have an agenda behind it because I was messaging unsolicited. And the other person might have felt the same as well. Like some of them had said, was something up because I don't normally communicate with them, but there wasn't. It was just to deepen the connection whilst also improving my sociability. Now, I didn't tell them that, I just wanted to hang. Now, most of them, surprisingly, were very open to the idea. The only ones that turned it down was people who already had things occupied at that time period that I suggested. Most people tend to be reactive, as I said before. They would hang out when other people initiated it, but very few people want to initiate. Most people want a connection. In fact, I would say everybody wants a connection. But taking that proactive step is just a bit too much for most people. And so when you do take the proactive step, and that makes it a lot easier for the other person to connect, then you're giving them what they want, whilst also at the same time getting what you want. And that is the reason why people are so open to accepting your invitation. Because chances are a lot of them actually do want to connect with you. There wasn't like, the stars didn't align for them. It just didn't seem to make sense. Probably the same with you. If you wanted to deepen your connection with them, you're just like, oh, it doesn't seem to make sense. But really, that's just fear talking. Fear of rejection, fear of looking needy or desperate, or just simply being emotionally exposed, I guess you could say. The demarcation that I want to make here is that being emotionally connected is very different to being emotionally dependent, right? One is a desire for mutual connection. It's something that you both would gain from an experience. The other is a burden, right? You are mostly taking from the other person whilst only benefiting yourself. That is not what you're doing here. You are becoming more emotionally connected with people because they're free to refuse. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Reaching out is not a weakness. It's just a step that people are too afraid to make. And most people would not judge you for that. At least the people that matter will certainly not judge you for that. So since you are already having a reactive conversations, right? People are coming to you and talking to you. You now add this component to it, which is a more proactive approach. You start to get a lot more repetitions in for building up your social ability. You get exposed to different kinds of conversations, right? People who are older than you, people who are same age or younger, people who are the opposite gender, people who you want to date, friends that you want to make. And you get better at making friends with this proactive approach. So all of that coupled in is just a perfect recipe to take your social ability to the next level. So start asking to hang out with people that you want to hang out with, right? Start with people around you, right? Not complete strangers, people somewhat in your orbit, friends of friends or light acquaintances that you want to deepen your connection with. Just a short message, right? Nothing too word essay, and don't overthink it. Hey, want to catch up? Been a while. Or just to grab a coffee. That's it. No script, no rehearsed opener. Yes, I know that sometimes that can sound a bit cringe, but trust me, from my experience, and I've done quite a bit of these already, it works. And then you're setting up the stage for a social conversation, right? This is not work. It's not like their family, which would not expose you to the social context that you need to in order to improve your skills. It's with a friend or someone who's a light friend, like an acquaintance. And now you're in the perfect area where you can start practicing sociability. There's no agenda behind it. You can talk about whatever you guys want. And as you get more comfortable doing this, you will find that it's a lot easier to meet new people, to strike up conversations with strangers and people who you find interesting or have good potential to becoming deep friends. Now you have this skill set in order to build that. And so now your social ability is improved, right? You deepen connections with the friends you already have, and you have the ability to make new friends. And you get more exposure and you get better and better each time. So if, like me, for a period of time, you felt like you were stuck in your communication journey because you were watching all this content, but you weren't really getting anywhere, or at the very least, you weren't feeling like you were getting anywhere. You weren't feeling more confident in conversations. And some of the ones that you tried were still really lackluster and not up to the standard that you wanted it to be, right? You didn't connect as deep. You didn't make the person laugh as much as you wanted them to, or you didn't really feel good coming out of a conversation. That would probably be why. It's not that you're broken. It's not that you did anything wrong. It's just that you need to do it more times. Learning how to lift is one thing. Now it's just time to lift. I challenge you to do that. Start one conversation, right? Have one hangout session. Don't do 5, don't do 10, just one with a person who you think will be a great friend to you. If you feel like this content landed, give it a like and subscribe. On this channel, I share about the things that worked in my journey, right? Real practical things that I've actually applied in the workplace with my friends, with the social environment that I'm in. But what about you guys? What are some of the things that you found that improved your social ability immensely? Let me know in the comments below. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one.